Yeah, and to the point you're talking about, you building up a tolerance and endurance for these types of things. This is something that, again, we address this in the book. Look at this title, everyone. The rise in violence against churches. I mean, this is happening. This is ongoing. We're seeing now Washington, D.C., they're talking about a very Democrat, socialist Democrat mayor potentially now taking over from Mayor Bowser. I mean, this is all unfolding. We've got Seattle, Washington. We've got Mamdani in New York. We see what's happening. The struggles in places like California. And these aren't isolated places. These are just the ones that are very much in the news. You look at
All the
what.
arsons in Canada the last few years,
Yes,
churches being
exactly.
burned.
Yeah. So we're seeing this reported. We had a guest on back in January, John Gondola, who was talking a lot about the concern of Islamification of America. And he pointed out over 540 Catholic churches in the last, I think, 6, 7 years or so that have been burned, vandalized, and so forth. So while this is increasing, and again, this is symptomatic of a bigger problem of just this anti-Christian movement that's out there, and the mockery and the insults and the put downs and all the battle zone that we're in right now. And we have to take this seriously. So are we truly prepared for this assault that's coming and that's ongoing right now? Body, mind, and soul. And we're not trying to be warmongers. That's not what this is about. But there is something about that physical component that builds the mental component, the emotional component. And we're more inclined then. And I love what you brought up there about, yeah, it's one of the titles of one of the chapters is you fight the way you train. And there's no question about that. I've been lifting weights since I was 12 years old. I'm 61 now. Now, am I as strong as I was when I was in my 20s and 30s? Physically, no. Am I lifting the same amount of weight? No. But you know where I'm a lot stronger than I was in my 20s and 30s is in the head and in the heart. I work out 6 or 7 days a week. I normally do something even light on Sundays. I enjoy it. It's not work. It's a 20, 30 minutes something. But the other days of the week, I normally am knocking it out pretty hard in some way. It could be a 20-minute workout that's intense, or it could be an hour long. But the reason I do it is there's a mental victory and a mental development that's happening. Like I just can't imagine facing something that's physically challenging, mentally challenging without looking at it and saying, okay, it's got to get done. It just has to get done. And that's the attitude that we want men and women to understand about men from this book. This is not a book that's saying you've got to be a super holy saint, although we're called to be saints, yes. And we've got to strive for holiness. And it's not a book that says you've got to be, a jacked up weightlifter and you got to be a martial artist. No, but you should take care of the temple of the Holy Spirit, and you should have a concept of how to protect and defend physically those that God has entrusted to your care. These are responsibilities for men. And so with those pieces combined, what we're saying in essence of this book is inside you as a man, and ladies, understand this about us men. There needs to be that quality that says, I will do what God calls me to do, and I will do what I have to do to be prepared to do what God calls me to do to the best of my ability, peacefully, not in anxiety or fear, but I'm also not going to be lazy and undisciplined and let pride get in the way. Then I will be ready for these assaults, whether it's assaults on marriage, assaults on other aspects of our society, or physical assaults even against our churches. I always say this, the term gentleman. I want to be that gentle man. You guys saw right before we started to record, my 2-year-old grandson came meandering into the room here. And he, cute little guy, comes over and gets on my lap. Now I can play the little game, hold my grandson and be the gentle grandfather. But if something happens in the house, a bad guy breaks in, a fire breaks out, a rat runs across the room. I don't have rats in my house, but if that were to happen, then I hand the grandson to someone else and I flip the switch and I have to step into whatever that is that I need to do that's physically challenging, mentally, emotionally challenging. Men got to go out the door every day sometimes and slay dragons 8, 10, 12 hours a day, 15 hours a day so they can provide for their families. This is something that we men need to be built up doing, and we need to develop that through mortification, through discipline, through training, through some sort of physical component, and get off the couch. The couch is fine to sit back and relax when you've earned it. But let's understand,
When you've
we've got to
earned it.
put some work in first. Roll the sleeves up, get the calluses on the hand. And if you're not a guy that's going to go do a lot of physical stuff and develop the calluses on the hands, okay, that's fine. But still have a plan and train in that plan, because at the very least, you may have to defend and protect those that God entrusts to your care on a physical level. That might even mean if a fire breaks out in the house, kicking through a wall Your walls are made of sheetrock in most every house, not all, but most. You can normally kick through a wall, get to the next room, and get out a window. These are things men sometimes don't think about. But you sometimes got to just beat through the wall, get your family out of that house. Sometimes that's physical, sometimes that's, figurative. But the point is, you got to have it in here in order for it to come out here. And so that's the whole concept behind you fight the way you train.